things that make you look like an amateur on LinkedIn.
Welcome to the next episode of LinkedIn to Lead Generation with Hannah Tighe. Hannah, what do you mean? Nobody wants to look like an amateur. What are we talking about?
Well, today we're going to talk about 3 things that either annoy people that they see in their news feed, or when they look at your profile, make them roll their eyes. Because it just looks like you have no idea what you're doing, you're not professional, and you're not credible. So
Cool.
those are the
Okay.
things that we're going to talk about.
So what specifically we're going to dig into in this episode? Give me the rundown.
Sure. So the first thing we're going to talk about is activity broadcasts, making sure that those are turned off when you're making changes. We are also going to talk about your picture and making sure that you actually have one and it's not from 1972. And then we're also going to make sure that you have your email addresses all listed so that there's not duplicate profiles made for you.
Excellent. Okay, well then let's roll up our sleeves and get into that. So nobody wants to look like an amateur. LinkedIn is an important professional kind of space here. So let's help people not, put their electronic foot in their mouth. So when you say activity broadcasts, I mean, what's going on in this department that is troublesome?
Sure, absolutely. So some people go in and they think to themselves, oh, I haven't been on LinkedIn in a while, and I really, either they've changed their job or, they're trying to spruce up their profile, which is a beautiful thing. You should do that every, couple months. But what happens is that they forget to go into their settings and to turn off their activity broadcasts. So
Okay.
what happens then is any time that they make any kind of change at all, it's popping up in all of their network's feed. So,
oh boy.
yeah. So if they change like the title to their job, but they're still at the same place, but they're, just maybe tweaking the title, that's an okay thing, okay?
Right.
But if, 20 minutes later they're, changing a comma or they're, doing whatever, it's just going to clog up the network's feed, and they're going to get really aggravated, and they're going to think to themselves, oh, this person's obviously changing their profile, and I wish I did, I don't need to see all this stuff.
Right, you're right. I never thought about that, but you're right. You're creating a big annoyance factor for everybody else. So if you're going to go in and make a single tweak, you might actually want it to show up in the activity feed.
Exactly.
But if I'm going to do an overhaul on my profile, then I better turn that little thing off because nobody wants to see the 12, 15, 20 different changes I make in the last hour, right?
Exactly. So those are, it's just a little thing that most people forget about. So I'm here to remind you, make sure that you turn that off.
Excellent point, because clearly that would make me look pretty amateurish, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't want. I don't need to see these little tiny changes in real time while you're doing them on your profile, right?
Exactly. So, and it's a simple enough thing to do. Takes you 2 seconds, and
And where that's in my settings, or where do I even find it?
That's in your settings.
Okay.
Yeah, and you go into your, when you go into on the very right-hand side, that's
okay.
You go in under your little avatar picture and privacy and settings, sign in, and you can see it in that full menu there.
So you mentioned the avatar picture, Hannah. So what if my avatar picture is a little blue silhouette or gray? I forget what is it on LinkedIn, blue, gray, something like that. But let's talk pictures.
Okay, so let's talk pictures. So again, LinkedIn, even though we are online, we are still trying to, relate human to human, right? Because the people that are on there are trying to network with people. So they're trying to network with people, not the blue avatar.
Exactly, not the silhouette.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, it also helps you with your branding when you have a picture. It follows you throughout LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you have a picture, and you also want to make sure that you don't have a picture from 20 years ago when you were the
my high school yearbook where I had hair. You mean that one?
Exactly. The worst thing in the world is when somebody builds a relationship with you on LinkedIn, and then they see you meet for coffee, and you're 20 years older, or it's like, be who you are. Let's just because that actually gives you. It makes people not trust you as much if you're not authentic to who you are, right?
Right. It's incongruous, right? I mean, it's like I was expecting one thing, now you gave me another, and that automatically creates this weird seed of doubt in my brain about who are you really?
Exactly. So you want to make sure that you have a picture, and you, again, want to make sure that you're looking into the camera and you're approachable, and, because, again, people relate to people even using a network online. I mean, you're still trying to build relationships with people, and that's what you always want to remember. So make sure you have a picture.
Right. When I'm going through people I'm thinking of connecting to, if I just see the silhouette, I literally assume that they're not really on LinkedIn very much, and so I'm not gonna. It's not going to be a useful tool for me at that point. You know?
And Mark, that's a lot of people think that, or they think that they're robots, or whatever. So they just automatically will disregard you. So you're really not putting yourself, best foot forward when you do that. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk email addresses. I wasn't sure if you meant I should add all of my email addresses or I shouldn't add all of my email addresses. So what should I do with emails here on my profile?
So this is pretty important, and people forget about this. But one of the ways that people will connect to people is that they will sync their contacts within their email addresses, okay? And then you'll get like all these, I'm sure you've gotten them before, this person has invited you to connect on LinkedIn and whatever. So if there are these little known email addresses that maybe you used like back in college and you kind of forgot about that, or like the junk email ones that sometimes you use but now don't use anymore. Well, if you don't have those, sometimes what LinkedIn, not always, but sometimes LinkedIn will actually create another profile with your name.
I've noticed that. I wondered how that happened, because I mean, sometimes I'm trying to connect to somebody and again, I see 3 different profiles that are clearly the same person, and I'm like, how did that happen? And again, it makes me wonder whether they're really active on LinkedIn or not,
Right. So you just want to make sure that that is all, put together so that it can kind of combine everything into your profile, and it's all under that one branded profile, as opposed to you have just names out there.
Let me make sure I'm understanding, because I want to get this right on my profile. So if I list all of my email addresses, even the ones I don't use that much, it should integrate and avoid my ending up with those phantom profiles that I don't want to have.
Right.
Okay, cool. Good to know. This is very helpful.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, we've covered a bunch of good things here. Anything else about email that you want to say?
Nope.
Okay, well, we don't want people to look like amateurs on LinkedIn, obviously, and you're out here really helping people use LinkedIn for lead generation. That's why we're calling the show LinkedIn for Lead Generation. So if people want to know more, I mean, if they've gotten something good out of remembering to turn off their activity broadcasts, making sure they have that current photo so that they're personable, adding all those email addresses so everything gets integrated, you're here to help them with their profile. This is what you do, right, Hannah?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we're going to put your contact information is right here on screen, but you're offering that you'll sit down and just chat with people, right, to see if they're a good fit to help work with them, right?
Absolutely. I'm always here to help.
All right, well, so get in touch with Hannah if you're interested in LinkedIn for lead generation, and join us in the next episode where we're going to talk even more about how to make your LinkedIn profile more powerful. So I'm going to sign off for now. Until next time.
Thanks, Mark.